As Lucy said, I used to work at Penguin, and I worked in a lovely little corner of Penguin where we had some absolutely fantastic authors. I'll give you a few names. We had Dave Eggers, Zadie Smith, Ali Smith, Paul Theroux, Pat Barker, Graham Swift, lots of fantastic authors. And we were quite into trying to do things differently because publishing is quite a traditional industry. And so one day we had this bright idea that we would get our authors to write their own blurbs. Up until then, we had always written the blurbs for them. So the blurb being either on the front flap of a hardback or on the back of a paperback. And we felt great about this. Yes, let them do it. They're the experts. They know their books inside out. It will be in their voice, and therefore they will lure their potential readers. So we started off with a few of them, they'll remain nameless, and said to them, we'd like you to write your blurbs. And off they went to write their blurbs, and their blurbs were terrible. That obviously well, maybe it doesn't surprise you. It surprised me. I was so used to the fact that these were fantastic authors who just had such a way with words that I thought they would be able to not only write, but write about what they did, write about their own writing. But they couldn't. So I realized that actually being an expert, it doesn't always help. And I realized, well, it got me thinking. And then I will fast forward quite a few years, and I started working with architects. This was at the beginning of last year. And I did that because I realized, well, I felt that architects are fantastic at designing beautiful buildings. It's what they do. But they are not so fantastic at writing about their beautiful buildings. So there are two different skills. But if you can master that second skill, if you can write about your beautiful buildings, then you will suddenly be able to inspire people. You will get clients. You will go from being a doer into a leader. And I feel very strongly about this, that writing and talking about what you do is the way to really take your work into the world and bring the world into your work. So I'm here today to talk about how to write to win clients. And I think that, when I think about this sentence, how to write to win clients, it's stuffed with problems. Everything in there is a problem. But if I'm going to break it down into 3 problems, and here they are. Oh, yes, there we go. You. So you are the one doing the writing. But you are an expert. You know your projects intimately. So let's say that you're writing about your projects. You know them intimately. You know them better than anyone else. You know every detail. That doesn't necessarily, well, it means it's very, very difficult to step back. So that is the first problem. The second problem is writing. Now, for a lot of people, that is a word that paralyzes them. You don't know where to start, and once you've started, you don't know how to get the sentences to flow. So that's 2 problems. The third problem, the client. Now, if you're talking, you expect that there's someone that you're talking to. But when you're writing, you haven't got someone there. All you have is the blank page. And that's a very difficult thing to write for. So there we are, 3 problems. That all sounds very depressing. But I am now going to show you through 3, what I'll call experiments, how we can get rid of these problems and make writing to win clients much easier and much more meaningful. So we are going to start with, I obviously haven't quite got the knack with this. There we go, you. So you, here we are, we've got the problem that it's very difficult to step back from your own work and let go of the detail. Now this, as you know, is a workshop, it's an interactive workshop. I should say, first of all, I have a good prop for this because I realised, and I saw from Jennifer's session, that once you all get talking, it's quite difficult to shut you all up. So I've got this, and we're going to do some various short bits of speaking. So I'm going to demonstrate, make sure you know that once you hear this, it means silent, okay? So now the other thing is that for this first exercise, I want you to be with someone who's not in your own practice, because I know that from quite a few practices, there are quite a few architects. So once I give you the nod, which is not yet, I'm going to ask you if you're sitting next to someone who's not from your own practice. If you are, and if you can pair up with them, you're going to stay with where you are. And if you're not, I'm going to ask you to get up and find someone who you don't know. Okay? Because it's really good, as I think Jennifer said, to start, you're here partly to be inspired by the people standing at the front, but you're also here to be inspired by each other. Now, before we do any of that, can you all tell me that you've got a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, something to write with? Yep. Okay, I'm going to give you about 1 minute to sketch a project that you've worked on or that you're working on now. Okay? So about 1 minute, do a quick sketch now. Okay, stop. Don't worry if you haven't done the final flourish, it really doesn't matter. Right, if you're sitting next to someone or you're sitting behind someone that you can turn to, or rather turn for, or they can turn back to you, who is not in the same practice, then you're fine, you're sorted. If not, I want you to get up, leave your bags, you're not going very far, just with your pen and your paper, so you've got your sketch. Actually, you don't even need your pen, just your paper, and find someone who you don't know, or at least is not in your practice. Now, up you get, find someone. In your pair or your three, I want one of you is an A. Decide quickly now who's the A and who is the B. A, okay. Right. Okay. Right. The A's, you're going to start by talking the B, your partner, and if you've got two B's in your little three, that's fine. Talking both of them through your sketch. Okay? Your own sketch. Okay, so just to recap, clarify, make sure everyone's with me. You have a sketch in front of you, you're an A, you've got your sketch, you're going to talk your partner through the sketch, and you're going to have about 2 minutes to do that, to tell them about your sketch, about your project. And at the end of about 2 minutes, I will be banging my glass and getting all your attentions, if you can have that in the plural, back to me. Okay, off you go. Okay, swap round. Now it's the B's turn to talk the A through the sketch. Off you go. Right, now I want you to, if you did your sketch in a notebook, I want you to close it. If it's on a piece of paper, maybe sit on it, whatever. I don't want you to look at your sketch. Sit on it, put it away, whatever. Okay, now you're going to be thinking about that same project, but I want you to think about everything apart from the design. So you can think about why it was designed like that. So not actually the design, but why. You can think about how people will use the design, what people will enjoy about the building, the design. So again, it all comes back to the design, but I don't want you to think, you're not actually going to talk about the design itself. You're going to talk about the why, the how, the what people will love about it, what you yourself love about it. Okay? So back to the A's, who are now going to be, again, talking the B's through it. So everything around the design, but not looking at the sketch. That's the most important thing. Okay? Off you go. The A's talking to their B's. Okay, now the B's, you're going to be talking to the A's about everything around the design. Off you go. I'm going to give you a quick multiple choice. A is talking or listening to someone talking through a sketch. B is listening to someone talking around the design, not the design itself. Put up your hand if you thought it was more interesting when they talked through the sketch. A couple, okay. Who thought it was more interesting when they talked around the design? Ah, lovely. That's the right answer. My experiment has worked. So we've got a few little... a few strays there who are not quite convinced, but we'll work on you later. I think it is far more interesting when you basically ditch the props. Yes? if if you always got images, floor plans in front of you when you write, they limit you. The way to step back, to free yourself up, to think more about what the design means, is to ditch the props and just delve into your head. You know, our heads are what are actually interesting. For this one, slip out of expert mode. Step away from the detail. That's what I want you to take away from this. If you want to write interestingly, this is what you need to do. It ties in with everything that Jennifer and Marcus were saying. It's about being yourself, thinking about what interests you, you know, what things mean to you. And there's something about, I think it's this word mode. It's like expert mode, that's a particular way of talking. It's a way that architects love to talk, I think. You know, as a non-architect coming to architects, I see them writing and talking like that all the time. You know, jargon is just one part of it, but it's a whole way of talking, and you'll be much more interesting if you slip out of expert mode. Right, we're on to our next problem, so we're doing well. We had 3 problems to solve, and we're already on the second one. So, writing, as we said, it's much harder than speaking. Do you all agree? Just nod your heads if you agree. Writing is harder than speaking. Yes. I mean, I'm a word person. I'm a writer and an editor, but I still think that there is something about writing that makes it. We sort of become unnatural when we write. Things don't flow in the same way. But there is a way of getting things to flow, and I'm going to show you. Now, again, you're going to need your pen and paper, but not to do a sketch. I want you to write down, and you're not going to write long sentences, okay, no long sentences. I just want a little note of the first thing I want you to write down is, rewind. Think about a completed project that you've worked on. So a project you've worked on that's finished. If you haven't worked on any that are finished, one that's quite far down the line, or is further than others. So not something that's where the foundations haven't been laid. Can't think which one's right there. We'll move on. So you are writing down on your notebook, on your piece of paper, something about this project, something that inspired you at the start. Okay, just a quick note of something that inspired you at the start of this project that you're thinking about. Okay, now I want you to write down, if that was number 1, this is number 2, a challenge along the way. So something about this project that was a challenge. Just a quick note. And number 3, I want you to write down something that's been a success, something that's worked out well. Okay, so you've got 3 things written down. Does anyone want to guess where I'm going with this? What have you got with those 3 things? A beginning, a middle, yes, and an end. Okay, if you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end, what have you got? You've got the triggers for a story. Fantastic. And this is something that people talk about a lot these days, sort of within business, is that stories are really what it's all about. It's what we all relate to. As a writer, they make it easier. As a reader, they make it more meaningful. And, you know, we've all grown up with stories. Stories are the way we make sense of the world. And it is no different in architecture. It's how clients will relate to what you do by you telling them stories, by you engaging them emotionally in what you do. So you've got your 3 triggers for the story, for your story, your own story. I am now going to give you 5 minutes to use those triggers, your beginning, your middle, and an end, to write about your project. Now, this is not a test, or even worse, an exam. No one is going to read what you've written. This is for you to just have 5 minutes to enjoy writing about your project with that as a structure. Okay, you've got your scaffolding in place, or you've got your RSJs, whatever. You've got something there. You're not writing into a void. You've got it mapped out, your triggers. Off you go, 5 minutes to write about your project using those triggers. Okay, stop there. Right. Now, if you think about all the projects you've ever written about in your life as an architect, where would you rate writing about this one? Was it the easiest you've ever found it? Yeah? Can I get some yeses? Yes. Oh, how lovely. Okay. Again, that's absolutely the right answer. So my message to you for that, the conclusion of our experiment is look for the stories in what you do. And, it makes it easier for you. I think that's a really important thing, and I'm all about taking the stress out of words. And I think it makes it much, much more meaningful and interesting for the reader. Okay, we are now going to move on to the client. Right, this is a tricky one, and it's going to be my most ambitious logistically, but, I'm up for being ambitious. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, and then I'm going to ask you, you're going to think it's going to sound as if I'm about to organise a ceilidh. I'm not, but I am going to get you to all stand up and stand opposite a partner. With your partner, decide who is going to be X and who's going to be Y. That's nothing to do with chromosomes, okay? Just to say, that's completely chance. Okay, so who are the X's? Right, who are the Y's? Excellent, right. Now, the X, you are going to turn your back on your Y, okay? Turn your back to your Y. Now, your Y, the Y's, you are going to tell your partner's back about your practice, okay? Tell them all about the practice that you work for, just looking at their back, okay? So, you cannot respond in any way, as in if you're the one with your back to your partner, you can't respond, you've just got your back to them, okay? If you're the one talking, was that the X or the Y? I've already forgotten. Y. Okay, so the Ys who are talking, you are going to keep talking until I say stop. I don't want you to think, oh, this is a bit embarrassing and a bit difficult, and just stop. Keep talking until I chime my glass. Okay? So, off you go. Okay. Well done, everyone. That was a good level of noise. You managed it very well. Swap over so that the person who was talking now has their back to you. Okay, off you go, talking about your practice. Okay, well done, everyone. Now you can face your partner. So facing each other, right? You can say hello again after that time apart. And you are now, so was it the Ys who started talking? I've forgotten again. So the Ys, you are now going to tell your partner again about your practice, but the X, your partner, is going to be really interested, okay? They're going to prompt you. So the X's who are listening, if there's something interesting, draw them out, ask them questions, nudge them, prompt them to say more. Okay, so real active listening from the X's, and the Y's, lots of talking. Off you go. Okay, swap over. Again, some really good active listening and active talking. Off you go. Who found it hard talking to their partner's back? Yes. Who found it easy talking to their face? Absolutely. So I think one of the very big problems with writing is we are writing to, it's that blank page, that like someone's back, or it's like a blank wall. It gives you nothing back. So what you need to do when you're faced with the blank page is imagine your perfect client. Imagine who you're writing for and write for them. It's a leap of the imagination, but once you know that that's what you're going to do, it makes it much, much easier. It's a way of banishing the blank page. Yeah? Because, if we had to talk to people's backs, talking would become hard. I bet that minute felt like a long time. Did it? Yes. But when you're talking to their face, when they're responding, when you're telling them what they're interested in, suddenly it flows. So, that's our way of getting over this client problem is imagine your perfect client, tune into their perspective, tune into what you know they're interested in, and get onto their wavelength. Right, that's our 3 experiments. Do you agree that we've been successful? We've found solutions for all 3 problems? Yes? Great. So I've got a handout that I haven't got as a hard copy, but that I am happy to send to email to people. If you want me to send you the handout, leave your business card for me, or scrap of paper with your email address on it and put it into this box, which I will leave at the front. And if you've got any questions, because we haven't got an official sort of formal Q&A session, but you can find me in the break and I'm happy to answer your questions. And I will leave you with my leadership challenges, which you know. Oh, hang on, went too fast. Here they are. So, slip out of expert mode. That's to get you to step back from the detail of your design and give you another perspective, sort of more looking at it more, everything around the design, not just the design itself. Looking for stories in what you do, because that's how you're going to make it more easier for you and more meaningful for your clients. And getting onto the client's wavelength by imagining that you're writing for them. Imagine them and then get onto their wavelength and write for them. And if you can do all those things, or I want you to take those 3 things away, and when you're back at your desk, they will help you to enjoy writing about what you do, they'll help you to win clients, and they will turn you from a doer into a leader. And I will leave you with that.